But that's what criminal defense lawyers do. I'm 85 years old. I hope the good Lord gives me the strength to continue to represent the most despised, the most controversial, the most unpopular people in the world. Look at the hell I got for representing Donald Trump. I did that, and I lost a lot of my friends. And people say to me all the time, oh, I understand Epstein, but not Trump. Or I understand Trump, but not Epstein. You have to understand that the role of the criminal defense lawyer is to defend every.
All right, so far, just to recap, we have 4 advanced techniques that advanced manipulators use. What are some advanced manipulation tactics? I'm Deception Detective. I'm an attorney trained in statement analysis, and this channel exists to expose lies and manipulation. Before we proceed, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. In today's video, we're going to analyze Alan Dershowitz's response to being named in the unsealed Jeffrey Epstein documents. The point of this video is not to determine if he is guilty or innocent of the accusations, but to point out the techniques that advanced professional caliber persuaders and manipulators use so that you can be aware of them. If you're not familiar with who Alan Dershowitz is, he's a very high-profile defense attorney. He's represented Jeffrey Epstein. He's represented Donald Trump. He's represented people on both sides of the aisle, very high-profile clients. So with all that said, let's listen.
Professor, you are mentioned in this document. You are mentioned repeatedly, and very specifically, it was the allegation against you was that Epstein forced then minor Jane Doe number 3 to have sexual relations with you, and that also you were an eyewitness to sexual abuse of other minors by Epstein. You have been out there vigorously defending your name, your honor, and denying these allegations fiercely. And I want to give you a chance now that it's come out in writing tonight to get your reaction.
So at this point in the interview, we have the accusation. So it is alleged that a minor was forced to have sex with him and that he witnessed other people having sex with minors on Jeffrey Epstein's island. So what do we expect him to say? If you've seen my early YouTube videos, you know what a reliable denial looks like. One of my most popular videos ever is what does a reliable denial look like? And a reliable denial consists of 3 parts. It consists of the word I, so I, then did not or have not, or if the question is have you ever, I have never. So it's I, a direct denial, and then a specific denial, so the thing you are accused of. So for example, a perfect denial here from Alan would be, I did not have any relations with Jane Doe, nor did I witness any minors having sex or doing any other illegal activities on Jeffrey Epstein's island. That would be a perfect denial. So with that in mind, let's listen to what Alan Dershowitz says. Let's see if he ever actually denies the allegations. And then let's look at the tactics he uses if he is not going to issue a denial to deflect or evade giving a denial and basically persuade us that he hasn't done it without actually denying the thing in question. So I'm just going to rewind, listen again to the allegations, and let's see if he ever denies reliably these specific allegations. Also, let's say he does not deny them. Does that mean he's guilty? No. Right, so similar to the Russell Brand analysis I did, where he did not give a reliable denial about the women who accused him of sexual harassment. That doesn't mean he's guilty. But it also doesn't help me rule in his favor either, right? So a reliable denial can go a long way just because of how hard it is to give one if you're actually guilty. It's surprisingly rare for a guilty person to issue a direct, reliable denial. So when you don't see it, it's a red flag. And when you do see it, you can feel a lot more confident in declaring that person innocent.
With you, and that also you were an eyewitness.
All right, so here's the allegation.
Professor, you are mentioned in this document. You are mentioned repeatedly and very specifically. It was the allegation against you was that Epstein forced then minor Jane Doe number 3 to have sexual relations with you, and that also you were an eyewitness to sexual abuse of other minors by Epstein.
All right, so the allegations are very specific. Jane Doe number 3 specifically, and that he witnessed minors doing things with other men on the island.
You have been out there vigorously defending your name, your honor, and denying these allegations fiercely. And I want to give you a chance now that it's come out in writing tonight to get your reaction.
Well, first of all, the woman who accused me has now stated categorically that she may have misidentified me, confused me with someone else. And these documents, if all the documents are revealed.
All right, so already we don't have a denial. Like what I said, I did not have any relations with Jane Doe, right? Or I have never even met Jane Doe. Something like that would be better. But instead what he does as an attorney is he starts talking about how this cannot be proven, how the evidence does not support the allegation, which is different than a denial. For example, if I hit someone with my car and you say, DD, did you hit someone with your car? And I say, there's no video cameras in the area. There's no proof I hit someone with my car. There's no dents in my car. Even the person who I allegedly hit retracted their statement and said I didn't do it. All of that is different than denying the act, right? All of that is persuasive and circumstantial. And it's actually good to say after the denial, right? So an innocent person typically 9 times out of 10 will deny the act because innocent people do not allow the cloud of guilt to hang over their head. And then what they do is they offer proof to support their denial. Whereas Dershowitz has skipped the denial part apparently and is moving straight to the proof. So does this mean he's guilty? Of course not. But it is a point against his denial.
Your honor and denying these allegations fiercely. And I want to give you a chance now that it's come out in writing tonight to get your reaction.
Well, first of all, the woman who accused me has now stated categorically that she may have misidentified me, confused me with someone else. And these documents.
His word choice is also interesting, right? So she has stated categorically. That's a very soft tone, right? That just means she said categorically. Whereas if she had lied before and now is changing her story, I would expect a stronger term, like she has admitted she lied. Or she has told the truth now and said, I'm not the one. Also, he says that she may have misidentified him. So even that is weak. It still leaves open the possibility that she did identify him correctly. So I don't know whether or not Alan Dershowitz is innocent or guilty or if he ever did anything with Jane Doe number 3. But so far, he has not told me he hasn't done anything with her. So I'm not going to put those words into his mouth. And that's the most important thing about denials. Unless they actually deny the allegation, don't put those words into their mouth because it can spare you a lot of heartache or embarrassment by filling in words and defending people who aren't willing to defend themselves. Right, so wait for someone to give a clear denial before you jump onto their bandwagon and support them. So far, he's left open the possibility that she just stated something that may not have been true. Right? Maybe she was intimidated or paid off. And then he allows for the possibility that she may have misidentified him, which allows for the possibility that maybe she did correctly identify him.
If all the documents are revealed, will prove categorically that she did misidentify me, that I never met her, never heard of her, never.
Okay, so now he gets a little bit more conclusive. So let's listen again.
To get your reaction.
Well, first of all, the woman who accused me has now stated categorically that she may have misidentified me, confused me with someone else. And these documents, if all the documents are revealed, will prove categorically that she did misidentify me, that I never met her, never heard of her, never spoke to her.
Okay, so that's better. So if all the documents are revealed, it will prove. So that's stronger, right, than what he was saying earlier.
I can prove it by independent means. I have all my travel.
All that said, he has still not denied it. And now we're getting more offers of proof from him. So like I said earlier, offers of proof are great. And if you've seen my analysis of honest people, if you look at my playlist, DDX honest people, you'll see some examples of denials that were honest. And in all those circumstances, what happens is the person makes the denial and then they go on to offer proof. And typically what guilty people do is they avoid giving a direct denial and they start insinuating that they have proof and mocking their accusers, right? So this is so ridiculous. Anyone who says that is wrong. You're crazy for believing that. So they do all the mockery, they proffer proof but don't actually show it, and they never make the denial.
Travel records. I have all my television appearances. I can prove that I couldn't possibly have been anywhere near any of the people who were involved in this. I was Epstein's lawyer, of course.
All right, so he says, I can prove that I was never near anyone. That is different than saying I was never near Jane Doe, number 3, or I have never met Jane Doe, number 3. Right, so that's an important point. It's a big distinction. Does this all this mean he's guilty? No, right? I'm just showing you red flags. So if something does come out, you will have hedged your support of Alan Dershowitz appropriately, right? If he had come out and said, Sean, I did not ever meet, all right, I did not have sex with Jane Doe number 3, nor did I ever meet her or any other minor on Jeffrey Epstein's island, that would be a much stronger defense. And I would feel a lot more comfortable saying, hey, I think he's innocent. So when people start using legal terminology, that is also a red flag. So for example, when O.J. Simpson said, I am innocent, saying I am innocent is different than saying I did not kill my wife. Right? Innocent is a loaded term. It's a term of art. So depending on your definition of innocent, it could mean you actually didn't do it. It could also mean, like the phrase innocent until proven guilty, that you are technically innocent in the eyes of the law because there's no evidence against you. Right? So that no one can prove that you did it. So when people use terms like I am innocent or I am not guilty, that is not the same as saying I did not kill someone.
Of course, I flew on his plane with Ken Starr, with Roy Black, with other lawyers. We flew to meetings with the U.S. attorney, with the state attorney. And so people have to be very careful about what they're believing and when it happened. For example, as soon as Epstein was shown to be what he was, I ended my personal association with him completely. But I maintained a legal relationship with him. I represented some of the worst people in the world and continue to do so. That's my life. And of course, I represented Epstein. Now, the one point I do want to make is that.
All right, so here's the one point he wants to make. Remember, he's been accused of having sex with a specific minor, Jane Doe number 3. He is still not denied that. Now let's listen. What is the point he wants to make? I'm expecting a denial here. Right? We still don't have a denial.
Is that I understand all the feminist groups and the radicals who think this is the worst thing in the world, that anybody ever had any contact with Jeffrey Epstein. Where are all those radical feminists?
And this is concerning, right? So this is probably the most concerning part of the interview that we've seen so far. Rather than denying it, what he does here is similar to what Russell Brand did in his denial, where he says, the mainstream media, the liberals are all out to get me, right? It's a conspiracy by the left, by the Democrats. They're out to get me because I speak the truth. It's a dog whistle, So what this means is he wants you to be on his side because he's against the people that you're against, right? So he's on Fox News right now. So rather than denying it, what he does is he sets up a strongman argument, right, that these radical feminists are the one accusing him, right? Trust me, I am not a radical feminist. I am suspicious about him because he appeared on the list and he has not denied it. And I think there's many people in my camp. So he paints his detractors as a specific type of people that he knows the audience watching right now probably does not like. And he is hoping that you, in a state of binary thinking, and many people suffer from binary thinking, well, he's against radical, crazy feminists. Well, I am too, so I'm on his side. That is not how you should think, right? We're looking for the truth. This isn't a football, soccer match, right? We're not picking one side and rooting for them, right? So Alan Dershowitz might be on the Republican side. I don't trust him. And just like I pointed out on X yesterday, Jimmy Kimmel, who is strongly on the Democrat side, he also issued an unreliable denial, which I posted about on X. So at the end of the day, what I care about is getting to the truth and holding guilty people accountable and teaching you how to spot how guilty people deflect blame and manipulate the audience into trusting them when they really should not be trusting them. So what Alan Dershowitz does here is he sets up a straw man argument. He's arguing against these hypothetical radical feminists when in reality it's average people who believe he's guilty because he appeared in unsealed court documents and there's testimony saying he did it. Right now it's up to him to deny it if he wants us to not believe they're true, right? Also, he dog whistles. So he paints his critics as a certain type of person, hoping that people on the other side of the fence will be on his team simply because he's painted his critics a certain way. And this is a manipulative technique, right? If you're innocent, offer the proof. If he's got flight logs showing that he was never on Epstein's Island at the same time as Jane Doe number 3, release them. Why tease them and then talk to us about radical feminists who are accusing him, right? So if you've got the goods, show the goods. Anything besides that is unnecessary and likely manipulative. So like I said, I don't know whether he's innocent or guilty, but so far he has not denied the act, nor has he offered proof, right? He's just said he has proof. He hasn't shown it. He hasn't released it. He's got an X account. He could release it there. He could show it to Sean Hannity right now on TV.
When it comes to the Hamas rapes of young Jewish girls.
All right, so let's rewind. So he's done one dog whistle of radical feminists versus Fox News viewers, and he's hoping that the Fox News viewers will conflate radical feminists with people alleging that Alan Dershowitz is guilty, and they'll root for him. And now he's doing a second dog whistle. So listen closely to what he says.
Of course, I represented Epstein. Now, the one point I do want to make is that I understand all the feminist groups and the radicals who think this is the worst thing in the world, that anybody ever had any contact with Jeffrey Epstein.
Also, part of a straw man argument is when you mischaracterize the other person's argument against you. So you mischaracterize the evidence. And here he's saying that these radical feminists think it's the worst thing in the world that anyone had contact with Jeffrey Epstein. That's not the argument, right? That's not why people are suspicious of him right now after these unsealed court documents. They're suspicious of him and accusatory of him because the documents allege that he had sex with a minor, not because he had contact with Jeffrey Epstein. Right, so he's mischaracterizing the argument, and he's trying to conflate the people arguing against him with people that the viewers probably don't like.
Where are all those radical feminists when it comes to the Hamas rapes of young Jewish girls.
All right, so now we have another dog whistle. Now he's saying, where are these feminists when it comes to Hamas versus Israel? Something that has nothing to do with these allegations. So there's a total deflection from the allegations against him, and it's a second dog whistle. So now, if you're on the side of Israel, you should be on my side, right? So Fox News viewers should be with me because I don't like the radical feminists. They're the ones attacking me. And pro-Israel people should be with me because the people attacking me are pro-Hamas. So we have two dog whistles. We have a straw man argument, right? They're not accusing him and skeptical of him because he had contact with Jeffrey Epstein. He was Jeffrey Epstein's attorney. It's because his name was released in the court documents and it alleges that he had sex with a minor. And now we also have a deflection where instead of talking about the accusations against him, he's bringing up a totally unrelated topic in order to try to steer the conversation away from himself. Now, to you and me, these are probably all quite obvious. But in the heat of the moment, when someone like Alan Dershowitz is talking to you, and let's say you do have feminist tendencies, or you are pro-Hamas or pro-Israel, these sort of things can ignite a passion in you that distract you. And if you take the bait, you'll begin arguing with him about feminism or Israel or Hamas and leaving the topic at hand. Right, so these techniques don't work on me because I don't particularly care one way or the other about any of the things he's raising up, but they might work on someone who's really in one camp or the other. Right, so this is effective, maybe not to you or me.
Girls, sexual abuse, beheadings, they are quiet, they are silent. The incredible hypocrisy of the Me Too movement. Me Too, except if you're a Jew.
Right, so now it's Me Too. On my channel, I've called out plenty of Me Too hoaxers, and I've also called out plenty of guilty people who abuse women and are cowards and horrible to women. But this is another dog whistle. Are you pro Me Too or are you pro men's rights? If you're pro men's rights, you're on my side. Right, so now he's got pro-Israel people dog whistling to them, anti-feminist people dog whistling to them, anti-Me Too people dog whistling to them. Right? The smart people can distinguish between a soccer match and real life. It is totally possible that all the people accusing Alan Dershowitz are bad, right? All the people using this to push a political agenda are bad, and that Alan Dershowitz is bad. Right? They're not mutually exclusive. Both can be bad. It's when you get into the mindset that you have to pick a team. That's when people can manipulate you with dog whistles. And Russell Brand tried to do it, and Amber Heard tried to do it. We've seen people on both sides try to do it, and people from both sides do fall for it. So you have to think for yourself. You have to escape binary thinking. If you can escape binary thinking, you can escape this type of manipulation. Dog whistles will not work on you. You're not a dog. If someone whistles a certain word, they should not be able to predict your reaction. Right? We're not dogs on this channel. He can say whatever he wants, any topic, whether I agree with him fully or disagree fully. The question at hand here is, did you have sex with a minor on Jeffrey Epstein's island as the unsealed documents allege? I've yet to hear a denial from him. So that's a red flag. Doesn't mean he's guilty, but if he had given a reliable denial at the top of this interview, I would be a lot more comfortable. I'd probably stack up all my chips. If he had given a perfect denial, because it's so hard for a guilty person to do, if he had done that, I would have gone all in that he's innocent. But he hasn't done that.
And I want to have a list of all the radical feminists who are pushing hard, and I understand that, to get all these names revealed, and I want to know how many of them have ever actually condemned Hamas for the rapes that we now know of.
The other thing is he uses the word these when he's talking about the names on the list. All right, so the word these is an indicator of closeness to something. right? So he probably does feel some sort of affection for the other people showing up on the list, or some sort of partnership or closeness. And that can be explained by the fact that they're probably his clients as well. He knew them. He hung out with them. They're friends. He's met them. So he refers to the people on the list as these. And just being on the list does not make you a bad person. Right? Plenty of people worked for Jeffrey Epstein. He was a billionaire, I think. Right? Billionaires employ lots of people. Even going to Epstein's island doesn't make you a bad person. What makes you a bad person is having sex with a minor. And he has not denied that. Right? So he could admit to us, hey, I feel affection for these people on the list. I don't know if they're all guilty. I've been to the island. I've flown on the plane. I worked with Jeffrey. I actually had a strong relationship with Jeffrey. And when it was proven that he was doing these things with young women, I broke off that personal relationship and continued to represent him professionally. That would all be fine. I wouldn't hold any of that against him. He's a criminal defense attorney. Criminal defense attorneys work with unsavory people. That's how the job works. When I was in law school, I interned at the public defender's office. I worked with people who committed domestic violence against their girlfriends and wives. I represented them to the best of my ability. Right? You have to separate the justice system from personal relationships. And 99% of people can do that. So the fact that he's arguing like people can't distinguish that is a strong man argument.
Occurred, and the murders that occurred, how many of...
Straw man, right? I don't know if I said strong. It's a straw man argument, a logical fallacy, a manipulation technique.
Been silent, and how many, like the National Lawyers Guild, have actually approved of what Hamas did? So let's put this in context. I'm thrilled that all these papers have come out. I urged them. I went to court. I asked for everything to come out because I knew that I had done nothing wrong and the papers would exculpate me. What I only worry about is that maybe the judges withheld certain documents. I want to make sure every single document comes out, including the documents that cast doubt on the credibility of some of the accusers and some of the accused.
It's interesting that he says, right, this is more soft tone. Right, so documents that cast doubt on the credibility of the accusers, of my accusers. If they're lying, he can use stronger tone, right? He can use stronger words. He's a big boy. He's got a big vocabulary. Why not say, I want the exculpatory documents to come out that prove these witnesses were lying? Why cast doubt on their credibility? There's nothing, the least credible person in the world can still be telling the truth. Right? The least credible person can still make an allegation that's true. So it is interesting that he uses soft tone. When it comes to proving his innocence, he says, I can present evidence. Right? I can present evidence I wasn't there. But he didn't say I can present evidence that I didn't do it. Or that the accuser is lying. Right? The evidence he has can prove. He has papers and documents that could show he's not there without any verification of if they actually prove the truth or not, just that they can prove he wasn't there. And then he wants to see documents that can impugn the witness's credibility. That's not as strong as saying, I want documents to be released because they will prove she was lying. They'll show she wasn't telling the truth. So soft tone is another thing we look for in these denials. Innocent people can be very conclusive about their accusers lying because they know the truth.
The public has the right to see everything and make their own judgment. We do not put the country in guilt by accusation or guilt by association.
Well, by the way, I think that is fair, and I still like you.
Also, notice more use of legal terminology, right? This is not guilt by accusation. Right? Guilt is a term of art. It's a legal term. And I agree. No one is guilty based on an accusation because guilt means that you've proved in criminal court something beyond a reasonable doubt. Only then can someone be guilty. So he's very confident that he can be proven innocent, that he'll have proof that will show he's not guilty in court, but he himself has not said he did not do the things that were alleged against him. Now, one reason why he might not be issuing a direct denial is because he is involved in the political arena representing politicians. And one rule of politicians is not to give credibility to an accusation by saying, I did not, and then something absurd, right? So there's a famous anecdote of one politician saying, let's accuse our opponent of having sex with a goat. And they say, well, why would we do that? So that he has to say on the record, I did not have sex with a goat, right? And then they can ruin his credibility because he had to deny something absurd, even though the denial would be reliable. So maybe he considers it so absurd that he would have sex with a Jane Doe number 3 on Epstein's Island that he does not want to issue a reliable denial about it, because he does not want to be on camera talking about sex with a minor, a Jane Doe number 3. So I will give him that benefit of the doubt. However, once you make a statement, you lose your right to a benefit of the doubt. So he is talking about it. He's mentioned Jane Doe number 3. He should be able at this point to issue a reliable denial. It'd be different if he didn't say anything at all. But he's talking about it. I expect a reliable denial when someone makes a statement. And that goes for Russell Brand, Jimmy Kimmel, and also anyone else who appears on this list, right? So more names are going to be releasing for the rest of the month, I think over the next few weeks. And as they make denials, we are going to assess their statements to see if the denial is reliable or not. But if someone is silent and does not make a denial, then we can give them the benefit of the doubt because they're not addressing it, right? So once you've taken the leap of addressing something, then you need to address it well.
You believe that in the presumption of innocence, and I don't rush to judgment. And frankly, on many high-profile cases in this country, this show, starting with Richard Jewell, we've been right. We were right about Duke Lacrosse. We were right about UVA. We were right about Ferguson, Missouri, and Freddie Gray in Baltimore, because I didn't rush to judgment, and I had impeccable sources. I have known you for years. I don't really know why you like to defend these high-profile clients. Everybody certainly deserves a defense, including Mr. Epstein, including O.J. Simpson, and you and I had wars over Bill Clinton back in the day.
Sure.
You've taken on these high-profile cases.
Speaking of Bill Clinton, he is also on the Jeffrey Epstein list. And I am looking forward to his statement because Bill Clinton is a sophisticated liar. And one of the most requested things I have on the channel, and the reason I'm doing this video right now, is because I've had so many requests to analyze sophisticated liars. So that's why we're analyzing Alan Dershowitz. But as I said here on X back on New Year, if Clinton makes a statement, prepare to finally see me analyze a sophisticated liar. So Bill Clinton is on the list. I hope he makes a statement that we can analyze, because he is very subtle in his techniques and very advanced. And if you're not looking for all the minutia of how liars deceive and manipulate the truth or treat information, you will miss it. So make sure to subscribe. And this is the second in my Jeffrey Epstein playlist. I'm going to add all these denial analyses to this playlist. So make sure to subscribe and check this playlist. And so far in the Jeffrey Epstein playlist, we have a congressional hearing about what happened to him, which we analyzed. And now we're going to have this Alan Dershowitz denial and any other high-profile denials that we get.
This is why, and do you regret it at all? And did you ever see anything untoward about Mr. Epstein?
I never did, and I do regret having ever met Jeffrey Epstein because it caused me the worst few years of my life when I was falsely accused, and I was canceled by the 92nd Street Y, canceled by Temple Emmanuel, and then she ultimately admitted that she may have confused me with someone else, and so things obviously have.
So now he's using stronger words, right? So she admitted. But then it's still weak. She admitted she may have confused me. Why does he allow for the possibility that she identified him correctly? Right? We always speak based on everything we know. So the words people choose, they pick in milliseconds to fabricate a sentence. So if he knows that it's possible she accurately identified him, that might be the reason he uses the word may. Instead of saying she admitted she got it wrong. She admitted whoever she saw, whoever that guy was, wasn't me. That would be a stronger statement. So notice how he still allows for the possibility that she identified him correctly. So because he hasn't told us she did not identify him correctly, only that there's a chance she identified him incorrectly, that's what we're sticking with. He has not said for a fact that he is not the person who was seen with Jane Doe number 3 by this witness, whoever she is.
Street Y, canceled by Temple Emmanuel. And then she ultimately admitted that she may have confused me with someone else. And so, things obviously have gotten a lot better.
Right. So he didn't say she admitted that she was wrong, or she admitted she lied, or she admitted the person, whoever the guy was, whoever she saw wasn't me. Right. Just that she admitted she may have gotten it wrong.
Now, of course, these revelations put my name in the headlines again. But I've never been afraid of that because I have nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be ashamed of. I did nothing wrong. Would I do it again? Not if I knew I was going to be false.
I did nothing wrong. That's the closest we have to a denial so far. Right. I have nothing to be ashamed of. That doesn't mean he didn't do it. That does not mean he did not have sex with a minor. People who do that might not necessarily have shame about it. Also, let's say he was mistaken about her age. Let's say Epstein told him, yeah, she's over 18. He might not have shame about it because he thought she was the right age, right? So we can't get into his thoughts about what makes him ashamed or not. But he did say, I did not do anything wrong. That's the closest we have to a denial. So it has two of the 3 elements of a good denial, of a reliable denial. It has the word I, so he's placing himself into the denial. Did not, which is a direct denial of something, right? Not I could not or I would not. Those are both hypothetical. Those are both conditional. I did not is the start of a reliable denial. But then he says, did not do anything wrong. That fails the 3rd element of a reliable denial, which is a specific denial. And if you've seen my playlist about apologies, those are the same, right? A sincere apology is specific. A reliable denial is specific. There are specific allegations against him in these documents which were released yesterday. So far, he has not denied those specific allegations.
Falsely accused, but if not for that, I've represented far worse people. I've represented murderers. I've represented people who have done terrible, terrible things. That's
all right. So this is another straw man argument, right? So people are accusing me because I represented Jeffrey Epstein. I've represented worse people. People understand that criminal defense lawyers, they represent bad people, right? It's not a surprise. Anyone who's holding that against him doesn't understand how the legal system operates. Defense lawyers are there to challenge the system, to make sure that the state meets its burden of proof before it locks someone up in a prison cell. They don't have to have any affection for their clients. So if anyone is holding that against him, and I think only a small minority of people, if anyone is holding that against him, the fact that he's acting like these are the main this is the main reason he's being accused, is a straw man argument. The reason he's being accused, like I've said multiple times now, is because his name appeared in unreleased documents with a specific allegation that he did something illegal with a minor.
That's an essential part of our system. If I don't do it, who will? I had tenure. I had an obligation to defend the most controversial.
Right, so he's set up a straw man argument, a weak argument, and now he's tearing it to shreds. So if you're not aware that this is a straw man argument, you might be thinking, hey, he's on a roll here. He's on a tear. He must be innocent. The argument isn't whether or not he's bad because he represented Jeffrey Epstein. The argument is whether or not he's bad because this specific allegation has been made against him, and so far he hasn't denied it.
The worst people, sometimes I won, sometimes I lost, sometimes I created a plea bargain like I did in this case. By the way, Epstein was furious at me for the plea bargain. He wouldn't pay my fee because he thought I had done a terrible job because he ended up going to jail and having to report as a sex offender. The rest of the world thought it was a sweetheart. But that's what criminal defense lawyers do. I'm 85 years old. I hope the good Lord gives me the strength to continue to represent the most despised, the most controversial, the most unpopular people in the world. Look at the hell I got for representing Donald Trump. I did that, and I lost a lot of my friends. And people say to me all the time, oh, I understand Epstein, but not Trump. Or I understand Trump, but not Epstein. You have to understand that the role of the criminal defense lawyer is to defend everyone.
All right, so far, just to recap, we have 4 advanced techniques that advanced manipulators use. So we have a straw man argument where he sets up a hypothetical weak argument only to tear it to shreds. We have a dog whistle where he relies on people to be thinking in binary, us versus them thinking, where he says that he's being accused by one side, hoping that the other side automatically accepts him onto their team. We also have deflection, where he brings up a totally unrelated but heated topic, hoping that you will follow him down that path and argue with him about that instead of the question at hand. And then finally, like I said, I don't know if he's innocent or guilty right now. But if he is guilty, he is using the technique of a narrow definition, where he's using legal terminology like I am innocent, you cannot prove I am guilty, I have proof that I was not there, right? I can prove I was not there, so innocence, guilt, proof. In other words, technical legalese that is not the same as saying I didn't do it. So these are the major takeaways from this episode so far. Let's keep watching.
Everybody who's falsely accused,
Well, I'll say this.
Accused or even truthfully accused. Yeah.
I think you're going to be the only one that does have the courage to say, no, it's not true. And you do make a good point. If there's exculpatory information that is not released as part of the information that is being given out by the judge, I think that's unfair to everybody, and that would be unfair to you. And if you believe it's exculpatory, I think the public should see that as well. Professor, thank you.
I don't need any more exculpatory material because the woman has already admitted that she may have clearly misidentified me, and that's enough for me. I'm going on.
Right, so once again, he is satisfied that there is not enough evidence to conclude that he is guilty, which is weak, which is different than saying, I am not guilty, or better yet, I never had sex with Jane Doe number 3. I didn't do it. Saying that the witness is incredible, or there may be exculpatory evidence, even if the exculpatory evidence does come out, that's not the same thing as denying the fact. Right? There was enough evidence to prove that O.J. Simpson didn't kill his wife. Right? There was not enough evidence to convict him. That means technically, in the eyes of the court, he's innocent. That is different than him never having killed his wife. And even he cannot say, I did not kill my wife. Right? So Alan Dershowitz has made a big deal about the lack of evidence that would convict him or conclude that he's guilty, or enough proof and evidence to conclude that he's innocent, but he has not said so himself. and that is key. So I don't know whether or not he's guilty, but he hasn't told me he didn't do it himself, so I'm not going to put those words into his mouth.
Going on with my life, I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing for years. But thank you, Sean, for an opportunity to present my case.
Professor, we appreciate your time as always. Thank you for being with us. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Now let's check in with the comment section. So I posted the link to this video on X 2 hours ago, so right when I was planning to record. And I said, regardless of whether you think he's guilty or not, can you spot the sophisticated manipulation tactics Alan Dershowitz uses to defend himself? So let's see what the subscribers over on X have said. If you're not a follower on X, I recommend following me over there. I just give extra content over there as well. All right, so first up, a great comment from Rodinas. He said, interesting ending. Thank you for the opportunity to present my case. Like he doesn't care what he did or didn't do, only cares that he has a defense. The accuser stated that she might have misidentified him, and that's enough for me. That's a great comment. Yes, right. So this is like what I was saying up at the end there when I was wrapping up. He's more concerned that nothing can be proven against him, right? So that he's defending himself, that the proof isn't enough to convict him. There's not enough proof to show that he's guilty. Instead of telling us she's lying, or the truth is I didn't do it, right? Or I was never there. I've never met her. So the entire interview that we watched, all he's talking about is whether or not the allegations can be proven against him. He never once denied them. And the closest he came to a denial was to say, I've never done anything wrong, which is a non-specific denial, and it's also subjective. It all hinges on what his definition of wrong is. So for example, let's say Epstein got him wasted and then had a minor have sex with him. In Dershowitz's mind, it might be, hey, I didn't do anything wrong because I didn't even make the decision to do anything, right? Or I wasn't in my right state of mind. I was high when I did it. Or I thought she was older. So it all hinges on what his definition of wrong is. And as a criminal defense attorney, he's obviously familiar with the concept of mens rea, right? Where sometimes in certain crimes, someone has to have the intention of doing the crime in order to find them guilty. In fact, most crimes, which is interesting because having sex with a minor is one of the very few crimes where there is no mens rea requirement. So even if you thought the girl was older, if you did it, you're still guilty. So maybe his idea of doing something wrong means that he had mens rea of what he was doing was wrong. Either way, whatever it is, it was a weak denial because it was not specific. So Rodinas picked up on that perfectly. He's more concerned with telling us that the allegations can't be proven rather than telling us that he didn't do them. All right, next up from the gist of the jest. He says that categorically seems like distancing. Categorically is also a legal term. So I'm going to forgive Dershowitz for using it. However, this point is good. He goes on one of the worst tangents I've ever seen, shooting himself in the foot more times than not, trying to do virtue signaling and appeasing the mob by painting an image of himself as a victim for his work ethic. And so what the gist is picking up here is those dog whistles. And he does use the correct word here, which I didn't even think of using here, it was a tangent, just like we saw with Liver King. Whenever Liver King was accused of using steroids, he would eat up the clock, eat up the time on the interview by going on a rant about totally unrelated topics, but getting very passionate about it. And so, yes, that is technically a tangent. Dershowitz went on a tangent about that bizarre Israel-Hamas thing, which was a dog whistle, a tangent, a deflection, everything all in one. And it might not have worked, like I said, on you or me or my subscribers or followers, because we are finely tuned to this sort of thing. But the average person watching that, the average person who's trapped in binary thinking, has a side on each of those topics. And if he's speaking passionately about one side and they agree with him, they're going to agree with him. They're going to think he's innocent simply because he's agreeing with them about something they like passionately. And by the converse, it's still worse, because if they don't agree with him and he's arguing against something they're in favor of passionately, they can get distracted by that and want to argue with him about that. Right? So tangent, dog whistle, deflection, all in one when he was going on that rant about Israel and Hamas. All right, and Blank Faces UK makes another great comment. So he says he uses complete statements like categorically when there is doubt in the statement he is referencing. For instance, the JD said she may have misidentified him, not that she did. He says that in a lower tone. Right, so I don't care about tone, but yes, right. So he noticed that he left open the possibility that she identified him correctly. Right, so his soft tone about that, right, she may have misidentified me, is not the same thing as saying she got the wrong guy. She was confused, or she was lying. The guy she saw, that wasn't me. Right? So saying she may have misidentified me is much weaker. And then when he said categorically, it was in reference to things like proof, I believe, right? So I can categorically prove I wasn't there. Saying you can categorically prove you were not somewhere only means you had an alibi, or only means you have a document that you could have forged saying you weren't there, right? It doesn't mean you weren't actually there. The only way I accept that someone wasn't somewhere is if they are willing to say it themselves. So for example, I've never been to Epstein's Island, and I can prove it. That is good, because I have a denial, and now I have an offer of proof. But just saying, I can prove I've never been to Epstein's Island, that doesn't tell me whether or not you've actually been there. It only means you have some piece of tangible evidence that you can show me that you're hoping will convince me you weren't there. Right? So when someone says they can prove something, they could be telling the truth, they could be lying, but the fact is they haven't told you themselves that they didn't do the thing they're accused of. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more denials coming out over the course of the next few weeks. So if you want me to do more analysis of people on the Epstein client list as they come out, please do give this video a like. A like on this video is a vote for more videos like this. If you didn't like this one, do let me know. It's a little bit off the norm that we've been doing for the last few months, which is true crime. So it's a little bit different. We're sort of going back to my roots. We're looking at denials and apologies. So let me know if you liked it. If not, let me know that. I want to make videos that you guys want to watch. Also, just be aware that because I'm talking about Jeffrey Epstein, every time I've done this, YouTube does throttle the video. So if you want me to do more like this, please make sure to watch the video all the way through and to give it a like and to leave a comment to let YouTube know that this video should be pushed up rather than throttled and suppressed. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay true.